G'day again. Welcome to another lesson of Basic Moves for DCS World. Today we're going to be looking at debugging your script. Now I thought we'd get this sorted out pretty early in the piece because it can get quite frustrating when you start scripting with your scripts not running and you're trying to troubleshoot them and you're constantly loading the mission and not getting the result you want. So let's tackle this first because it'll take a lot of the frustration out of it, give you some tools on how to debug and also how to do it a lot more efficiently. So if we jump straight into our script we were working on in lesson 2, which is our airboss script, there it is there. Now I haven't made any changes to this except for adding that top line, just to remind me what it is. And if you remember, we loaded it up and it ran straight away. Now that's not always going to be the case, obviously. You'll make a mistake in there and it just won't run. So what I do when I'm developing these scripts is rather than putting it into the mission file, I'll put it in another place on my hard drive that's easy to access, and I leave the script in there. And because I can access that script remotely and call it every time the mission loads, it means I can edit it externally and I don't have to keep loading it back into the mission. I just need to start the mission again. And we'll have a look at another little trick with that, but that's what I want to look at today is assert loading. So on my Notepad++, I always keep a tab up the top corner here, which is just the assert load file script. And that's it. It's really basic. Assert load file, path to your file, and then just start. So we're going to use this to call our file and leave it outside the mission file itself. So let's dive into the mission editor, and there's our mission we were using in lesson 2. And if you can remember, in our triggers, we were calling moose at mission start and doing the script file moose.lua. And then we were calling our script we wrote once 5 seconds into the mission and doing our script file moose lesson airboss.lua. Now, in reality, on a server mission, I even load moose as an assert load. The reason being is by loading it from externally, every time the moose script changes, which it does, instead of having to go back through all my missions and add that new script in there, all I do is overwrite the common file location where I keep it, and every time I run a mission, it'll call it from there and load the new file. And it's just a lot more efficient. I don't actually load anything in here. Everything I do on a mission is assert loaded. But we're going to leave that as a script file in here because we're just doing a lesson and it's not a server environment. But we are going to, the script we're working on, our own script, we're going to load that as a call. So we'll leave it as once, we'll leave it as time more, but instead of do script file, we're just going to do script. Right. And the script we're going to add is back here at Notepad++, this assert load file script. Now, if I jump out of here quickly, and we're going to move that file out to another place to edit. So let's, I'll just get out of the editor. We'll just go screen here. I'll bring up the actual saved games open beta missions folder, and we knew it was called Moose. Lots of files. Okay, there we go. So we knew it was called Moose lesson airboss. There it is there. We're going to copy that one. And to keep it really simple, I keep a folder on my C drive for doing this sort of stuff. Now I keep mine in this Hypeman folder, but you can have any folder you like. So I'm just going to drop it in here, and that's where I have a lot of different scripts that I use. So we'll just drop it straight in, and that's where we're going to call it from. So all I need to do now is in here I add the path to this script. Now the easiest way to find the path of that script there is to click up here, and you got C Hypeman and then /moose lesson airboss.lua. Now the interesting thing is if I take that out of there, copy it, and drop it in as my path in here between the quotes, so you keep the quotes, and we drop that in, that's not going to work. The reason why is this backslash here is no good. We want a /, and then we want another /. So any of these backslashes get rid of. It's /, and then we knew the file was called moose lesson airboss with capitals on the first bit .lua. So let's call that in from here. So moose lesson airboss.lua. Righto, now you don't have to save that because we're just going to use that for copying and pasting. So I'm going to grab that bit of script from there, Control C, and then I'm going to go back into the mission editor again. So let's bring that mission editor up. And in this text box over here where we're doing script, I'm going to paste it in there. Righto, so now we're telling it to assert load file from C, Hypeman, moose, lesson, airboss.lua, and we're going to start it. That'll be 5 seconds in. All right, let's save that. So because we've made no change to our script, we expect that to run. So let's run that now. Here we go. Fly mission, start. Now you could put that file anywhere you like. You can keep all your scripts together. Obviously, the longer your file path is, the more chance you've got of stuffing it up and putting something in there, and it's just not loading. So I try to keep it short. Righto. Now we remember from last time we couldn't just jump straight into a slot on this because we need it to run for 5 seconds to get moose running. So let's go back and sit in spectators for at least 5 seconds. And then we will jump into a slot. So there we go. So let's have a jump into the slot now. And we've only got our test guy slot. There it is there. Righto. Now we should expect to see moose load in the top right hand corner, or airboss I should say, load in the top right hand corner because the script worked last time and all we're doing is calling it after 5 seconds, so it should run. So let's just hit fly. And there we go. Airboss US Taro, welcome, flight student U, call sign. All right, so all we've done differently now is we've called that script from a remote file location. Okay, so let's go back out to the mission editor again. Now, if you have a look in here, in the parent menu, we've got our Airbus menu in here. Other at Airbus. Righto, so it's all working. But let's just jump back out into the mission editor now. So we'll quit and back to mission editor. Righto. Now let's bring up our script again. So Notepad++ back up again, and we'll go back to our moose lesson airboss script. Now remember we just copied and pasted. This is not it. This is the one we are looking at here is in our mission file. So let's just close that one. We don't want that script now because it's not the one we're editing. And let's open the one we added to the Hypeman folder, and there it is there. So let's double click on it. Hang on, so you can see it. Okay, so there we go. The one we added to the Hypeman folder I've reopened. And now this is the one we're going to use for editing. You'll find you'll just use the same folder for all your editing, and it becomes quite seamless, and you don't have to remember where things are. Now, it can be the smallest thing that will stop this script running. So just say, for instance, I leave the bracket off that on line 20, and we save that. And we run it again. Back to the editor. Now see, just going back to this editor and loading all this back in again is time consuming in itself. So one of the reasons you want to assert load and find ways to get around this is just to reduce this time. Now I've deliberately made an error in the script, and we'll see what the result is. So again, give it time to run, back to spectators. Wait the 5 seconds, and then we'll jump into a slot, and we shouldn't get airboss running. All right, jump in a slot, test area, and fly. Right, so we didn't get airboss Taro, the script hasn't run. So there's your frustration sets in. I've just done my script, hasn't run. All right, so let's just go back and we'll just quit. And we're just going to leave it sitting there so we can fly again if we want to. So rather than having to go in and mess around the mission editor, I just leave it sitting there and we go back to our script file or Notepad++. Now, rather than hunting all the way through the script here, trying to find out where we made our mistake and work it all out, luckily DCS Log gives you a bit of a clue. So let's just jump into the log and have a look. So you can see we've got an error here. It says scripting, mission script error, assert load file, Hypeman moose lesson airboss.lua. Well, that's our file, okay. Number 1, yep, Hypeman moose lesson airboss.lua, 26. So line 26 expected a bracket close to the other bracket. So it's expecting us to close the brackets at line 20. Okay, near airboss Tarawa, and there's a trace back to where the error came from. So this is what we're going to use for our debugging, that information, and it points us back to our script and where the error may lie. So we know there's a syntax error, there's a bracket missing. It was expecting to close a bracketed argument, and that's missing. Now, remember we spoke briefly about languages in Notepad++. So I have my DCS Log language going, which is great because it adds color in there. It makes it easy to find. So I recommend you do that and create some styles that suit yourself and find error. So let's just jump into our script. So we've got line 26, expected to close that at line 20. Righto. So if we have a look and we go down to line 20, you can see there's the bracket and they're expecting to close those brackets. Now that's the one I removed. Now the reason it's saying at line 26, it's expecting an argument there for at line 26 is when we're the next one, which is load airboss Taro load. So that's the saved stat. So when it tried to move to the next argument and said, well, I can't because you haven't closed this argument off here. And another bit of a giveaway when you use Notepad++, if you start seeing any of these red bars down the side, up to the top, and there'll be something missing there, that it's looking for all the way down to the end of the script, and it didn't find it. So if we put that bracket back, the red bar down the side went away. So that's something to keep in mind when you're scripting. Unless you are indenting, and we'll look at that in later scripts, you don't want to see anything down here when you're just adding these standard lines in here. So we've fixed up our script, and we jump back into DCS again, and we save our script, which I hadn't done, so I've just fixed up, hit save, then fly again. So instead of having to go back into the editor and reload our script in to our trigger, we've done it externally. We run it back to spectators just to give it 5 seconds to load in. There's 5 seconds, and then we jump into a slot and Harrier test. Okay. Now we should see Airbus Tarawa. There it is. So that's using the log to debug our script and assert loading the file to save us some time diving in and out. Now that'll save you a lot of time doing it that way. Let's jump out of here back to the editor. Now we'll look at another way to load scripts in while the mission is actually running live. So this time I've got to jump back out into the editor. Now in the triggers, I'm going to add some triggers just for testing. So I'm going to do a new trigger, and we're just going to do it once, and I'm going to set test radio button. Okay, and then we don't need a condition, we just want it to happen once when the mission loads, and we're going to add a radio button. There we are, radio item add, and we're going to call it test my script. Well, it's not really testing, I suppose it's reload my script. There we go. Reload my script. Now flag 1 will do because I've got no other flags in here, but I want to set it a value something other than 1, so I'll set it to flag value 2. So when I do that F10 menu radio button, which will say reload my script, which we'll have a look at soon, it will set flag 1 to the value of 2. All right, and then we need an actual switch condition, and we're going to call this load script test. Okay, but this time we do need a condition, and we want it to, whenever flag 1 equals 2, we want it to run. So flag equals, so when flag 1 equals 2, we want it to do stuff. All right, so the first thing we want it to do is load our script. So we want it to do a script because we're assert loading, so we want it to do a script for the assert load. Now the easiest way to do this is to go up to our Airbus script, the one we're working on, because we'd already put it in here, and we'll copy that out. Control C, script, Control V. Okay, so whenever flag 1 equals 2, it's going to run this script again over the top, and that will allow us to test it. Now the other thing I want to do is I also want a message to say that it's actually running the script, just so in case it doesn't run, I know at least I called it and it didn't run. So if we go message to all, and we'll just say reloading script. Okay, it'll stay up for 10 seconds. And the last thing we want to do is we want to reset this flag back to 1. So we go action, set flag value, and it was flag number 1. We're going to reset it back to 1, and that'll do. Righto. So to remind me that these are just test functions, I'm going to make them green, so that later, once I've finished testing all my scripts in my mission, I'm just going to delete this out, and so there isn't any option for anyone to run any scripts while they're in the mission. Okay, so let's save that. And yeah, let's listen to this test mission. That's okay. Yes, replace. All right, now back to our Notepad++ and back to our script. Let's take that bracket out and make the same mistake again. We'll save that. And now we are going back to DCS Editor. And we're going to run this mission. So I'm expecting this script not to run the first time, because it didn't last time we made a mistake in it. So let's do that. Fly, start. And you can see what I'm going to do here. So when it doesn't run, I'm going to try and change it, and then I'm going to try triggering it again. Righto. Let's jump back to spectators, give it at least the 5-second chance to run. Righto. Jump into a slot, and we're not expecting it to run. Let's fly. Nope. Okay, so we know we've made a mistake in that file. Okay, so while the actual game's running, let's just quickly jump back into your Notepad++ again, and we'll close that bracket again and get rid of our deliberate error. There you go. We'll save it, and then back into DCS again, which we haven't left. It's still running. You can hear it running in the background there. There it is. And we will open up our comms menu. And if we look at the parent menu, in Other, we should have our radio item we added. And there it is. F1 is reload my script. So let's run that and bring the script in again. Okay, our message to self, reloading script. Now we know it needs 5 seconds to run, so it's not going to run while I'm sitting in this slot, just the nature of the way this thing works. So all I have to do is reslot after 5 seconds. So if we had 2 Harriers sitting on the deck here, I could just reslot to the other one, but we only have 1 in our mission at the moment. So let's, we'll go to choose slot, and we'll back out to spectator and fly. And it should have had enough time by now. So spectators, and we'll reslot again. And there we go, Airbus USS Tarawa. So there's an even faster way to do it, by just creating that little trigger loop to load your script dynamically while you're in the mission. So that's pretty much it, but that will speed up your debugging using the DCS log combined with a language that you define to highlight errors, warnings, and things that you're looking at, like Airbus. So if we go back to my script and have a look at the language I have running, you'll see that in the DCS log, anything with Airbus comes up in bright green. So I can quickly add an an instant, just have a quick look and see what's going on. So there it is there. So that helps you with your log. Assert Loading helps you speed up the process of going back in and loading it to check it runs, and then creating that assert load trigger also saves you time. So that should help you debug. The next lesson we'll look at a script and we'll add to this mission, and we'll do some stuff with spawning. Thanks for watching.